More than human wasn't just the motto of the Tyrell Corporation. It became the philosophy that shaped decades of speculative fiction. Cyberpunk is not merely a genre, it's a lens, a way to see the future through broken glass and rain-slick neon, where dreams are downloaded and humanity is always one patch away from extinction. How are you all on this fine evening? Today, we're exploring the neon dreams and digital dust of CD Projekt Red's Cyberpunk 2077. We'll explore the DNA of Cyberpunk and the history of the games and the aesthetic. We'll also dive into the history of CD Projekt Red. So stick around, lest your dreams be deferred. Cyberpunk was born in the late 1970s and early 90s, in the twilight zone between the analog and the digital. It was a recreation of a utopian science fiction, rejecting sterile futures and shining spaces in favor of something grimier and more human. These stories imagined futures where corporate power eclipsed governments. Cities grew like viruses, and technology didn't liberate people. It chained them in a new, insidious way. Before we move on, we're going to explore some of the city of Cyberpunk. Like this bar, we do have a final destination, a point of no return that we're heading towards. So stick around to see what happens in the interim. The term cyberpunk was popularized by author Bruce Bethke. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And cemented by William Gibson in Neuromancer, circa 1984. Gibson imagined a world of jacked-in hackers, street samurai, and data conducts, where identity was fluid and cyberspace was the new frontier. But it was Ridley Scott's Blade Runner, 1982, that gave cyberpunk its visual grammar. And I have to say, diving back into cyberpunk now, there's a lot of changes they've made, and this looks more like Blade Runner than ever. Neon signs flickering through acid rain, skyscrapers looming over street level poverty, and artificial beings searching for purpose. Blade Runner didn't explain the world. It showed it and presented it in layered reflections and ambient soundscapes. It's a mood that's echoed in every cyberpunk world since. These cityscapes are also reflected here as we look around the city. Cyberpunk has always flirted with the gaming genre. The tabletop RPG Cyberpunk 2020, designed by Mike Pondsmith in 1988, let players step into the roles of netrunners, fixers, and solos living on the edge of society. It was dense, stylish, and brutally dystopian. A perfect foundation for storytelling. Yet for decades, Cyberpunk the video games struggled to capture the full complexity of the genre. We had games like Syndicate, Deus Ex, Shadowrun, Observer. They all explored pieces of the aesthetic, but none became a mainstream cyberpunk epic. Not such as this. The story of CD Projekt Red begins in 1994 in Poland. Two friends importing video games and localizing them. Ironically, they got their start distributing pirated games before turning legitimate. Their first major hit was The Witcher in 2007. This was an adaptation of a dark fantasy novel. From humble beginnings, they earned a reputation for deep narrative storytelling, player agency, and respect for the source material. Obviously, The Witcher 3, now hailed as one of the greatest RPGs of all time, was there. They ascended to the pantheon of top-tier game developers, winning Game of the Year and fan loyalty across the globe. When CD Projekt Red announced they were adapting Cyberpunk 2020 into a full-scale AAA game, Cyberpunk 2077, expectations went sky high. But this was not to be short-lived. When Cyberpunk 2077 launched in December 2020, it was complicated to say the least. The game had promised so much more than it could deliver at that time. A living, breathing night city, branching quests, and RPG depth. Keanu Reeves as Johnny Silverhand. An immersive cyberpunk sandbox. Instead, what players actually got, especially on console, were bugs, crashes, missing features, and unkept promises. Looking around now at these neon cars, it's a world away from that launch title. But we should never forget the backlash at that time was swift. Sony delisted the game and refunds were issued, which was very, very rare. CD Projekt Red stock plummeted. But like the stories it was based on, CD Projekt Red refused to die. Over time, through patches, apologies, and Phantom Liberty expansion, the game began to heal. By 2023, it was critically reappraised and widely enjoyed. CD Projekt Red had pulled off a noir redemption arc. And here I am with you today, playing Cyberpunk on a PlayStation 5. Because it has recently been added to the PS subscription, PlayStation Plus. Now, I actually bought the game at launch and was one of those disappointed customers. But seeing the world now, it does feel more like a living, breathing, bleeding world. Something worth exploring again. As we look around this city streets, we can see that grime. We can see that utopian, dystopian atmosphere. Some areas feel communal. Some areas scary. Let me know what you would like to see in this game. Originally, I think there was promised an online multiplayer. Walking around the game now, I can see that it could have been something marvelous. Imagine hundreds of people all online in Night City. Okay. Customizable characters walking around. Some people trying to live out their cyberpunk fantasy. Others just trying to cause chaos. How would you lead your life in Cyberpunk Online, as CD Projekt Red prepares for a full sequel to Cyberpunk 2077. Leave your comments about what you would love to see. Today, Cyberpunk 2077 stands as a flawed but vital entry in the genre. A digital city humming with atmosphere and contradiction. Its visual DNA is clearly lifted from the likes of Blade Runner, down to the reflective puddles and synth-drenched alleys. But it brings new questions to the table. What does identity mean when memories are transferable? What is freedom when corporations own every code, your code? Sorry, suddenly it made me think of Ghost in the Shell. Another very cyberpunk-esque style movie. Cyberpunk has never been about predicting the future. It's about showing us the dark silhouette of our present. Just an exaggerated version for now. So, CD Projekt Red have a rare chance with this sequel. A chance to refine the narrative and sharpen the mechanics and build the ultimate cyberpunk epic. But in the end, maybe the brokenness and the glitches, the grime and the imperfection is part of the genre's soul. An inescapable part. Cyberpunk was never supposed to be clean. It's a corrupted form of beauty. A world where hope flickers in the neon, and every upgrade comes at a price. Cyberpunk has always been a mirror. Its towering skyscrapers and decaying back alleys reflect the contradictions of modern life. Globalism versus poverty, freedom versus confinement, technology versus humanity. Where high fantasy offers escapism, cyberpunk offers confrontation. Its central thesis, high tech, low life, predicts futures where innovation isn't shared equally. It's a world where billionaires upload their consciousness while gig workers scrape by on biomods and black market software. Does any of this sound familiar? In Cyberpunk 2077, this dystopia isn't abstract. It's personalized, and you don't just visit Night City. You survive it. At the heart of Cyberpunk is the question of self. This isn't new. Ghost in the Shell, Akira, and Blade Runner all asked, what makes us a person? Is it memory, soul, DNA, our coding? Cyberpunk 2077 adds its own wrinkle with Johnny Silver, the digital ghost of a rock star implanted into your mind, sharing your consciousness, debating your every choice. He's not your guide, he's not your rival, more like a mirror. This isn't just a narrative gimmick, it's a cyberpunk meditation on duality and control. Johnny is the virus in your system, both figuratively and literally. You are never alone in Cyberpunk 2077. Your mind is occupied. Your identity is contested. Deeply unsettling and deeply cyberpunk.